So, recap. Carbs are necessary. They have a bad rap because people, in the weight loss industry have said that they cause you to gain weight. But they are very necessary for the body. They can be found in almost any type of food, except for pretty much like pure fat, like, olive oil, coconut oil, things like that. And also meat, like, beef or chicken or pork or whatever. But pretty much everything else has carbs. So they are necessary because their number one job is to give your body energy. All right. So energy to do your day-to-day walking around, working, thinking, energy to work out, energy to think and to process information. So this is why sometimes if you don't eat, especially if you don't eat any, foods that have carbohydrates in them, then you will feel like you have like brain fog or whatever, because, your brain relies on glucose actually to work. So if you don't have a whole lot of it, or if your body's having to convert other things to it because you're not eating it in a diet, it could cause you some, brain fog, or, having difficulty with processing information, stuff like that. So it's really serious, like you really need it. You can find carbs in grains. I think I was saying this before in the video, but grains, fruits and vegetables, anything that is a sugar. So like, honey and table sugar, brown sugar, all those things have carbs in them too. So the question I always get is, are they good or are they bad? Carbs, are they good or are they bad? My answer to that is carbs are good. Like I said earlier, you need carbs for every single process that your body has. Carbohydrates are involved in some type of way. So whether that be digestion or that be respiration or whatever, like it doesn't even matter. Like every single process that your body has, carbohydrates are used for them. So they're good and they're necessary. But there are different types of carbohydrates, and some are more efficiently used than others, and some give you more bang for your buck than others do. So carbs that have fiber in them tend to be the better carbs, or the good carbs. So these would be things like fruits with the skin on it, that has high fiber, or like whole grains like brown rice, or whole grain bread, things like that. Those would be considered the good carb because they have higher amounts of fiber. What general public would consider the bad carb, which I don't call that. I don't call it that, but what you might hear as a bad carb would be a refined carb. So that would be things like your white rice, your sugar, your honey, things like that. And the main difference is just basically the rate of absorption in the body. So your high fiber carbs are absorbed less quickly. So your body has a longer time to be able to, digest it, break it down, and use it for energy. In other words, if you ate something that was a whole grain or high fiber carbohydrate, then you would have, a long, like hours in order to run around, walk around, use your, body to do whatever, to burn energy, to burn that carbohydrate off so that it's not stored as fat. Whereas, if you were to eat a refined carbohydrate, so that would be or a simple carbohydrate, that would be your sugar, your, white bread or white rice or whatever, your body doesn't have to really do anything to break it down, so it can absorb it right away. So you might store it as fat if you don't use the energy that it gives you, for exercise or for walking or just, everyday activity. Right. So the reason why they call it a bad carb is because if you're not using it for energy, it's more likely to be stored as fat. Right. So your white rice, your sugars, table sugar, brown sugar, whatever else, those things are more likely to be stored as fat if you are not very active, and if you're not using the energy that they provide. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're completely bad. So I actually sometimes give people that are preparing for a bodybuilding competition white rice, because it is easily absorbed, and because they can use it right away for, you know, the strenuous workouts that are necessary for preparing for that. If I were, you know, I've coached marathon runners, and I give them refined grains, things like white bread or white rice, and, you know, sugar sometimes too, to basically give them fuel for their long run. So sometimes they're very necessary, but I would say for the average person and for general population, it's probably best to stick to whole grains, right? So you don't have to necessarily worry too much about, oh, is this carbohydrate going to be sticking to my stomach in a couple hours if I don't use it right away? So whole grains, try to stick to them. Fruits, fibrous fruits and vegetables, those are great sources of carbohydrate. Refined grains, unless you're about to run for a long period of time, or unless you're about to have a strength training session or a HIIT training session that's a couple hours in length, then I would say, you know, maybe avoid those, right? Here's another trick. So this is something that I do with my people that come in for competition, or if they're, you know, getting ready for a photo shoot or something like that, and they're trying to drop weight pretty quickly. So don't tell anybody I told you this, but here's the secret. If you want to make sure that you are not going to store any excess calories from excessive amounts of carbohydrates, try to plan your carbohydrate intake one of 3 times, right? And these are the times where your body is most sensitive to the sugar that you're going to be taking in. First thing in the morning. So first thing in the morning, your body is pretty insulin sensitive. That means that, you know, it can take those carbohydrates, use them for energy, process it, and you probably won't be likely to store it as fat. The second time is right before a workout. Duh, because you're about to use those carbohydrates for the workout, right? The third time is right after a workout. So right after a workout, your muscles are ready for that extra carbohydrate to repair from what you just did during the workout. When you work out, especially strength training, you get these small little tiny tears in your muscles. That's the term ripped. If you've ever heard the term ripped, that's where it comes from. So you get these little tiny tears in your muscles, and the carbohydrates that you eat after a workout go directly to healing that. And so they don't really have space or time for, you know, being stored in your stomach. So hopefully this stuff was somewhat helpful and kind of alleviate the idea that carbs are bad for you. They're not. But there are some that are better for you. So just to recap, stick to whole grains, try to avoid refined grains unless you are about to work out or it's right after a workout. But for best case scenario, whole grains, brown rice, whole grain bread, maybe bran type of cereals, fruits, and vegetables. Stick to those carbs and you'll be good to go.